The surprising country that might start World War III. War is all but a thing of the past, at least between major world powers. Since the end of the Cold War, there has been no major war between nations. While many conflicts have popped up around the world, none have involved direct military action by major world powers. As such, many people believe that we may be living in a golden age of peace, especially with the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of the arms race. But that might not necessarily be true. History shows us that wars can come out of nowhere, even when it seems like peace will last forever. And right now, there is a country preparing for war. It's not the country you would expect, though. And they are planning to start World War III. Keep watching to find out which country this is and why they are planning to start World War III. You won't believe what their reasoning is: Ukraine. It's not often that we hear about Ukraine making the news. This Eastern European country doesn't seem to have much going on. They don't have a major military presence. They aren't a political powerhouse, and they don't hold many resources that other countries desire. As such, Ukraine hasn't been a major player on the world stage since their independence from the Soviet Union. Since 1991, Ukraine has mostly kept to themselves and tried to mind their own business. But recently, they've been making moves that suggest they want to become a major player in world politics. And those moves could lead them into a war that threatens to engulf the entire world. This isn't something that Ukraine has done intentionally, however. In fact, it's just the opposite. They are doing everything they can to try to stay out of the coming war. But it looks like some powerful countries want to drag them into it. The beginning of the conflict. Much of Ukraine's recent actions can be traced back to the beginning of the 2000s. At this point, it was clear that Russia was falling apart. Their economy was in sharp decline, their population was shrinking, and they had lost their status as a superpower. As such, they needed to make a move to secure their future, and they believed that the best way to do so was to tighten their grip over Ukraine. The government of Ukraine rejected this, however, and began working to improve relations with the EU and NATO. This caused tensions to rise between the two countries. But things didn't really get bad until Ukraine made a decision to move forward with joining the EU. This was seen as a betrayal by Russia, who felt that they had a claim over Ukraine, and as such, they took action to punish them. In 2014, Russia took control of the Crimean Peninsula and used it as an excuse to invade eastern Ukraine. While they haven't taken any major action since then, the situation has remained tense. Tensions rise again. Recently, tensions have begun to rise again. Russia has built up a large force of troops on the border of Ukraine, and the US is claiming that they are preparing to invade. As such, the government of Ukraine is taking precautions in case things escalate. They are calling up reservists, setting up defensive positions, and reaching out to NATO for support. It is clear that they are afraid of a Russian invasion and are preparing for it to happen at any moment. But while Russia might be the most likely candidate, they aren't the only country that Ukraine has to worry about. In recent months, tensions have risen between Ukraine and another unlikely candidate, Japan. Japan and Ukraine don't have much of a history together. They are separated by thousands of miles and have little in common. As such, many people were surprised when tensions rose between the two countries. But the reason for the conflict is actually quite simple. Both countries have territorial disputes in the Pacific Ocean. Ukraine has a number of islands in the Black Sea that are claimed by both Turkey and Russia. And Japan has a number of islands in the East China Sea that are claimed by both China and Taiwan. These disputes have remained peaceful for many years, but recently they have begun to cause tensions to rise. Japan has been conducting military drills near the disputed islands, and Ukraine has been doing the same near their disputed islands. As such, there is a real risk that one of these countries could make a mistake that leads to a full-blown conflict. A miscalculation leads to war. It is not hard to imagine a scenario where a miscalculation leads to war between these two countries. Let's say that Russia decides to invade Ukraine, as many believe they will. This would cause a major conflict in Europe that would draw in NATO and potentially start World War III. Meanwhile, Japan could see this as an opportunity to take action against the Ukrainian islands. They could send in their navy and try to take control of the islands by force. This would cause a major international incident and could lead to war between Ukraine and Japan. Now, it is important to remember that this is just a hypothetical scenario. It is very unlikely that Japan would actually take this course of action. But it is important to consider all possibilities when trying to predict what might happen in the future. The reality is that we live in a world where anything can happen, and it is very possible that a conflict between Ukraine and Japan could erupt at any moment. Why Japan would want to start a war? It is important to remember that Japan is not just doing this to antagonize Ukraine. They have legitimate reasons for wanting to go to war. First and foremost, the disputed islands are a strategic asset for Japan. They are rich in natural resources, and control of them would give Japan a major advantage in the region. Additionally, the islands are close to important shipping lanes that connect the Pacific Ocean to the Middle East. This makes them an important strategic asset for Japan's economy. Finally, the islands are home to a number of rare animals and plants that could be exploited for scientific research or even bioweapons development. For these reasons, Japan is not willing to back down from the dispute and is prepared to go to war to keep the islands under their control. While Japan might be the more logical choice, they aren't the only country that could start World War III. There are a few other countries who would benefit greatly from starting a war right now, and they might be the ones to pull the trigger. Who would benefit from World War III? There are a few countries that would benefit from starting World War III. First and foremost, there is North Korea. This isolated country has been a nuisance for decades, but they haven't really posed a serious threat to any country until recently. With the development of nuclear weapons, North Korea is now capable of destroying major cities. This has caused tensions to rise on the Korean peninsula, and many people believe that war is imminent. However, some believe that North Korea might actually benefit from starting a war. North Korea is a poor country by most standards, and their economy is struggling. However, if they were to start a war, they could use the chaos and destruction to their advantage. They could cause massive disruptions to the global economy, which would likely cause major stock market crashes and financial panic. In the midst of all this chaos, North Korea could swoop in and present themselves as the heroes of the situation. They could claim that they were the ones who started the war in order to save the world from itself and gain international support. This might sound crazy, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. North Korea is a totalitarian regime, and their leader, Kim Jong-un, is known for his unpredictable behavior. Additionally, North Korea has a large army and is known for its willingness to use it. As such, they should not be underestimated when trying to figure out who could start World War III. Another country that could start World War III is Iran. This country has been a thorn in the side of the United States for decades, and they have a long history of supporting terrorism. Additionally, Iran has been developing nuclear weapons, and this has caused tensions to rise between them and the West. Many people believe that Israel is planning to take action against Iran's nuclear program, and this could lead to a major conflict in the Middle East. If Iran were to start the conflict, they would likely target US and Israeli interests in the region. This would cause the US and Israel to retaliate, and it wouldn't take long for the conflict to escalate into a full-blown war. Which country will start World War III? So which country will start World War III? If you had to guess, what would you say? Let me know in the comments below. As we've seen, there are a few different countries that could start World War III, and it's impossible to say for sure which one will. What we can say for sure is that it is very likely that a conflict will erupt in the near future. The only question is which country it will start in and who will get dragged into it. One thing is for sure, though, when World War III starts, it will be unlike any war that has come before it. The weapons will be more advanced, the casualties will be higher, and the destruction will be more widespread. Hopefully it never comes to that. But as we've seen, there are a few countries that would benefit greatly from starting a war, and it is only a matter of time before one of them does it. Thank you for watching. When World War III happens, we'll be here to cover it, so make sure to subscribe for more updates. Also, be sure to check out our other videos. We have a ton of great content that you'll love. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.